Oh, it says we are live. So I'm going to take that as an opportunity to say welcome for anyone who is watching today. This is Open to Connect. I call it a podcast, but it's kind of like a vodcast because we're on video. And today I have Monica McNeal here. And I was just telling her right before this call that she's one of my favorite people. We met her through military spouse venues, avenues, the technology program that Microsoft was holding, and we continue to advocate and love on the military community. So, Monica, would you like to introduce yourself more than I already did? I would love to hear what you're into these days.
We'll just go with Monica McNeal. I always first like to say I'm a mom first, and I approach many of my projects as a mom. Not everyone thinks that's a good style of management, but I think it's a great one. So I'm a mom, but I am a veteran advocate. I dabble in a lot of different veteran nonprofits, projects. I've kind of got my hands in a lot of things. We'll just say Greater Seattle Joint Base, or from Canada down to Portland is kind of where I run the Highway 5. But love being part of the military family and being able to give back whenever I can.
Yeah, and there's a lot here in the sound, so every time once in a while I'm like, wow, this is actually a big stretch of military opportunities. So you know that I love to talk about job searching and advocacy and all of those pieces that are happening. And right now, the job market is particularly tough, whether you're in the military community or not. So, what are you seeing in the military spaces when it comes to job searching?
I'm just kind of coined my phrase, and they're firing fast and hiring slow.
Mhm.
In the past, where companies would kind of have a rec, wanted to fill it within 3 months, they would have a process and get things moving, and get someone hired, onboarded, and have a job. I'm finding people are doing 5 interviews. I feel people are taking their time. I feel they've put job recs up. They've been up for 2 months. They take them down. It's still a very uncertain market, and obviously the unemployment numbers are going up. I think it was 4.8. I think we were at for ending month of December. It's just one stat. I will say, and just because most people probably know that I play within the 4 block arena. And we had a lot of our participants get hired from the last cohort. So I see there's hiring. I just think it's very slow. I think it's very methodical. I think they're just going through hoops and hoops to make sure they got the right candidate, which is not all bad. And then last but not least, it's all about your network. And I know you talk a ton about your network. I also like to say your network sometimes now is your net worth, and knowing people, leveraging that, humbling yourself, saying you need help. I think this is a perfect time to say, I don't know everything, and I am going to take all the help I can get. So that's kind of my big overview, but I definitely see the firing fast and the hiring slow is pretty much happening across all industries.
Yeah. It seems like it wasn't too long ago before military veterans, particularly those transitioning from active duty, because anybody doesn't know that we're talking about is active duty, going from active duty into the civilian world. And it used to be that there were so many companies that were military friendly, ready to hire them, and the military candidate could kind of wait a bit more. And it's like, oh, I'm getting out in 3 months and 4 months. I have an opportunity to do cohorts on various things, and it'll be okay. And I feel like that's not a strategy that is advisable at this point. Would you say that?
Yeah, and you're spot on. I would not recommend anyone wait. I say, you know what, start networking today, as you should always. But you want to start getting your ducks lined up. And I don't think it's going to be a 3 month cycle. I have an opportunity to get to talk to a lot of recruiters, and even recruiters, because of a lot of how their HR roles have changed, they don't necessarily get to seek out veterans first anymore.
Mhm.
So that has changed a little bit of their hiring practices, even though veterans make fabulous candidates, just like other diversify groups, but they definitely don't have to attend necessarily veteran hiring events anymore because they're not focusing on that population. So your network, once again, is going to become more and more important. But I would give yourself ample time. Granted, I also like to say in the military, especially those that are leaving active duty, you are going to expire. When that date hits, you're not going to have a job, but you better have a plan that it might be a little longer than your 3 months that you need.
Right. And even as advertised before, you mentioned one piece that I would love to highlight when you said recruiters not having as many, not having to like attend fairs and stuff. It's also important to know that a lot of recruiters were let go for companies because their hiring slowed down. So now you might have had a 10 recruiter team. Now it's one or two people. Even if they have job recs, it changes that hiring process as well.
Yeah, that role has changed drastically. We'll give it over the last year for sure. But yeah, so we've got recruiters that are overwhelmed, even for the recs they do have, and then they're taking slower time. So it's just a very different timeline and cycle. But definitely, many people I know who, especially were in D&I roles and in recruiting, are no longer employed.
Yeah, I see so much of that too. And they're having a hard time finding, it's like everybody seems to be having a hard time finding the roles. And a lot of people are like, I'm being ghosted. I don't understand what's going on. And sometimes I'm like, recruiters are really overworked right now too. So it's cross-platform, right? So networking, net worth. I know you've said that to me. It feels like 100 times every time because we both talk about networking. Every time we talk, it's like same phrase. If someone, like we often say, well, just network. And that word just is a big one if you've never done that before. How would you recommend someone just get started? What does day one look like for, when they sit down and say, I'm going to network today?
Well, I think we're very fortunate being here in the Pacific Northwest. I mean, we have so many different groups that get together. There is the PNW Vets group that is now statewide, which has been fabulous. And it's just a great way to reconnect with some people. The Veterans Beer Club, they're back up and running. So if you just want to catch a beer with somebody, that works. February 3rd, 4 Block is having a networking event. And you can find this all on LinkedIn. And just go where your people are. And in some cases, the VFW might be the right spot. I'm always plugging that Puyallup VFW because they are active, they're young, they're post 9/11. And you know what? There's a wealth of knowledge at those VFWs in American Legion. So don't forget that is another great place to kind of network, get your legs a little stronger before you get out into that big world. And then I'm a big believer, find those groups. If you are an avid photographer, get out there and go to a meetup group, talk to people. And yes, this can be online, this can be in person, but there's just an opportunity to get together. And I'd start first with my tribe, my group. And if you need any help of where to look for some people, I usually have posted somewhere on my LinkedIn. So there's always something going on.
You really reminded me of even our church. It's like, how do you meet people? And it's really where do you live? Where do you learn? Where do you work? And where do you play? And all of those are opportunities for networking that I think some people miss. Like you said, the photography group, I'm part of an improv group. If we're never having conversations about what you do or who you never know who's in the room with you, who knows other people. And often I think I see people not stating what they're after, even in a network. It's like, oh, I'm here talking about military days and go and have a great connection time and never say, oh, this is what I want to do when I get out. Do you see that happening? What advice would you give around that?
I'm still a big believer in figuring out your what and why. It makes life a little bit easier. And that doesn't mean you know exactly what you want to do. I can tell you some jobs I will never do because I just can't do that. So I always look, what do I want to be doing next? And, what is the why and the what? I'm driven by passion. So I need something that I can jump out of bed every day that I know I'm just going to make a difference. Whatever is motivating you. And, there's some great classes out there. There's a book that I will always recommend. It's What Colors Your Parachute. It has truly been a bestseller, I think, since 1977. They redo it every year. It is worth taking that time to figure out what are those things that mean a lot to you. Like I said, I know I'm driven by passion, and I want to be passionate about getting up and going to work every day. So I think figure out the what and the why. And then when you get to these events, yeah, you're going to have to get yourself be uncomfortable, but being uncomfortable will have big rewards. And I'm one too. I got to ask because I schedule classes, et cetera, look for sponsors, all sorts of stuff in my volunteer world. But I have to talk to strangers and say, now, tell me about yourself. What do you do? And people love to talk about themselves. Let them talk. And then it's going to open up another door for you to have a great conversation. So don't be that wallflower. You're going to have to get in there a little bit. And like I said, ask those questions and most people will start chit-chatting, but you kind of have to know what you want. I always tell people, if you don't know, then say you're still exploring, because yeah, you maybe spent 20 years, you're retiring now, and no, you haven't done a resume in probably 20 plus years. You haven't done a lot of things that the civilian market's going to require, but you do know how to have conversations and you do know how to explore and do research. So if you're still researching, still exploring, why not? I also love to use the word be curious, because you never know. And one day I was in class teaching, and we're on the Boeing website, and they had a position for a screen printer at Boeing Everett. Now, if you would have told me Boeing is looking for screen printers, I'd go, what are you talking about? Here it is, a little over 100 grand a year to be a screen printer working at Boeing. Well, be curious. There are unbelievable jobs that are out there. So you kind of have to learn how to read and look at job boards and then use it to your advantage. But just stay curious, because there's some crazy jobs out there that, didn't exist 3 weeks ago, let alone 5 years ago.
Yeah, I advise people as kind of, if you start listing what you like and what you don't like about various things that you do, and it could be grocery shopping. I literally put that on the list when I did that. What happens is if you write, I like this and I don't like this for each of those things, eventually the same words start popping up. And I'm like, that's your brand. That's you. That's the thing that you are bringing to each of these things. And you don't want to do a lot of the other things. And I said, I like to bring a smile to people's faces. So I just went into LinkedIn jobs and put smile. And I got a bunch of dentist opportunities at first, but then there were things like social media managers and whatnot. And I was stunned by what was out there just by searching the word smile, which does not seem like a traditional job search word, but it, like you were just talking about, is explore, be curious. You don't have to always use manager or any of those things. It's a search. You can search all sorts of things. And
yeah,
I love that example of screen printing.
Thanks. I was on vacation. I reread Breakthrough Living Life Without Limits, which is a fabulous book. It was written in 2022, but I reread it, and it just was that reminder of we set our own limits. We've decided what we can't do. We're not out there. So just Breakthrough. It's a great book, easy read. It's done in a little fable. So I always like a little storytelling. And it was just a good reminder of, being curious and just asking for help when you need help. It's okay.
Yeah, I love that. And then going back a little bit to the networking events. And when it comes to asking those questions, I often see military people particularly looking for I'll say it, the war story. And it's like they'll get into that zone and only talk about that thing and forget why they're, everybody wants that commonality, but sometimes we don't leave that commonality in order to get to the crux of what we're talking about. So I just wanted to highlight that, particularly as you were even just saying, be curious and let that other person talk as much as possible, that active listening. And really, like, you can be curious in those conversations too, on, I always say, look for the weird thing, right? That you're like, wait, bring it back to that a second. because that
Well,
could be
I think
key, right?
there's such an opportunity just to, as it's a chapter. Serving our nation is a very important chapter in everyone's life who has done it, but it's a chapter, and you're going to have lots and lots of other chapters. So don't always keep going back to the one you're most comfortable in. The most growth you're going to have is when you're doing something that's a little uncomfortable. And if you would have told me, now give away my age here, we'll go with 50, 40, we'll go with 40 years. 40 years ago, if you would have told me I would be in this veteran space, I would have said, absolutely not. This is nothing I'd be doing. I spent, 30 plus years in the fashion industry. Why am I here today? So you get to rebrand, reinvent yourself. But as you said, I still have this really common thread that was from my fashion industry to what I do today. Those are common traits, common threads, common things that I love to do. So yeah, don't rest on your laurels, push yourself. And there's a big, crazy world out there, and it's fun to explore it.
I usually remind people that if they're having that fear, because I would rather be the wallflower, truthfully. I like to watch what other people are doing. And I remember when I was overcoming this massive career gap, I was at a networking event, kind of watching things. I'm like, nothing is ever going to change unless I change this scenario right now. And that is actually where the most growth happened, was when I got away from the food table and talking to people. And I always advise people, don't go to the speaker. Don't go talk to the speaker. They're being swarmed by everybody else. Go look for the other wallflowers and go engage with them, because you kind of get it. That they're there for a reason, but not engaging for a reason. And typically they appreciate that connection a lot too. So, all right, let's talk about advocacy as well. So I may have a bunch of people here are just watching this and being like, okay, I understand there's opportunity to be an advocate for something that I know nothing about. What would you say to those who are allies or want to become advocates? And it can be for the military, but you have a cause or an underrepresented population anywhere that you're passionate about. How do you take that first step into being an ally, being an advocate? I know there's a slight difference between advocate and ally. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this one.
I'm a big believer in not just tiptoeing in. I'm going to put both feet in and go for it. And there are so many places that need help, support. So wherever your advocacy is, if it's children, if it's, another group that is underprivileged, or is it just something in your neighborhood? And I'm a big believer in, picking up trash. Why are we not picking up trash besides Earth Day in April? We should be having trash groups go out every day along whatever. But I think you will find yourself with like-minded people, and you just start putting it out there. And I'm a big believer in the universe. And I think there's a reason why everything happens. And as you find that little inkling of something, and truly use AI, find out where the advocate group is meeting. Is there a group at the library? Is there doing a protest somewhere? Whatever floats your boat, there is always something going on. And I was showing a elderly woman yesterday how to use AI, and just, she goes, oh, there's never anything to do. So I just put in our local community, and I showed her all the stuff that she could be doing and what she could do in a day. And it's out there, and it does take a little effort, because sometimes you have to, take a shower and get out there and do your thing and not sit on your couch. But I really believe if you have that passion for something, you will find yourself surrounded by other like-minded people. And my world today is very veteran focused and military family focused, but I also have other passions that I do other things for. I don't have as much bandwidth time, but over the next few years, you're gonna see me reinvent myself a little bit and go into another new advocacy. But love what I do, and I'm never going to leave my military family behind, because it is part of my life.
Yeah, You had so many nuggets of gold right there. It was really funny that you brought up the trash thing because our neighborhood did get together yesterday and went and picked up trash. But even in that, I'm walking next to somebody, hands dirty, and well, we had gloves, but I'm like, I would have gone back to the house to get gloves if I didn't. But I was just like, oh, what do you do? What do you work on? How are you feeling about, such and such? And it opened doors just to get to know that other person. And while her industry was not mine at all, it still could have been a strong opportunity. And now I actually understand that person and where they're coming from too. And this was during picking up trash. And you never know what opportunity is right there if you are curious, asking questions. And I love the pieces you were bringing about kind of how do you get started, and then the AI usage. I would say, even to add on to, if you're going to a networking event, you have no idea what to ask, you can ask AI in your car as you're going in there. What unique questions can I ask right now? Do you see AI helping people in this in the space of even networking and whatnot?
Yeah, I think I mean, obviously the jury's still out, and I'm not an AI expert by any means, but I'll tell you what, I think it is an enhanced tool that will enhance everyone's life as everyone gets a little more comfortable with it. I mean, from interviewing back and forth, I mean, looking for great interview questions, finding out what's going on in your neighborhood. I was showing her even how to take things out of her pantry and refrigerator and come up with the next 4 meals. She's, elderly. So she was like, oh, I didn't think of all those things. So I think there's just that comfort zone. And once you kind of work, I'm going to go back. I like that human touch. And I know you do, you talk to people and you can show and you can explore and you can come up with something. And so today I'm going to go back, and I told her I'd be back at 5 o'clock, and I want to see what else she asked her friend. She uses Chrome. So, let's just figure out, what pilot, what am I saying? She's using Google. I always use Copilot, but anyway, but whatever she was using, I want to see how she's doing, and, give her that little bit of confidence and some of these real practical things. But yeah, use it to go to that networking event, use it to practice interviewing. And it's amazing the results. And once again, use the tools that you have awarded to you. And in this case, they're free. So take advantage of them.
And something else you reminded me of, just what we've been talking about, is you were an ally advocate for a single person in learning how to do something that they don't know how to do. And I think sometimes people discount the skills they have because they're easy to us. For me, it's no big deal to pick up AI now and fight back with it. Actually, like, nope, I want something that's not what I was looking for. Do better. And because it's a machine. You can do that and just really drive into that. But that's because I've been using it since it birthed. So it's easy for me to do that. But it's not easy always for someone else to take that first step. So I just want to remind people that the things that come easy to you are probably your superpowers that other people don't have. And that's an opportunity for you to use them for
share them.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I love that. And honestly, if people have no idea, like if they want to post on LinkedIn or something, start sharing what comes easy to you, because other people may not find that easy at all. And you may be delivering the gold nugget that they need in their world. And then they remember you. And that's even better. You mentioned 4Block. Are there other organizations that you see are helping military and military spouse communities? I don't want to forget military spouses. I know sometimes it feels like we're an afterthought, but not always. So talk to me about who's doing great things.
Well, I'm going to have to obviously put 4Block at near the top of the list, and love. And of course, I get to play here in the Seattle cohort, and then we're doing a pilot program down at Joint Base Lewis McChord. So that's going to be very exciting also. But, the Commit Foundation does a phenomenal job. I'm a huge supporter of the USO transition program. They're phenomenal. And what I'll just mention this one too, and I love what he's doing. Act Now Education Jay is doing unbelievable, putting the best database that I know of. And now it's veterans, it is active duty, it is mil spouses. And in most cases, like 4Block has a mil spouse program also. But because of the branding companies did way back when, even though if it says veteran, please dig a little deeper is what I tell all the mil spouses. There's probably a link somewhere there for you. But, they do a great job. I'm always got to shout out my buddy, Rob Comer, with hiring our heroes here in this market. If you can get a skill bridge, Rob runs a phenomenal program. And there truly are over 30,000 resources. And often many veterans will say, oh, there's just so many, I don't know which ones. Well, you got to just start and you got to pick. And, there's things like Canderful will help you do online interviewing. And there's just, like I said, so many great ones. And obviously I'm a people person, so I like the in-person ones, but 4Block has lots of virtual classes. And so whatever kind of fits your timeline, but I would push yourself again, get out there, because part of that secret sauce of getting a job is that networking opportunity. And in 4Block's case, we're at 10 different companies for 10 weeks, one night a week. You're going to meet veterans who work at these corporations, and then you're going to meet other people. And it's just a great way to start building your network. So there's so many, we're so blessed with all these great veteran resources. And yeah, sometimes maybe there's too many, but there's so many of them that do such a great job. Onward to Opportunity, another great place to get your educational benefits. there's just, they don't end. That's in tech.
Yeah, and I should throw in Operation Code, because that one was started locally too. That was actually where I got the big break that I needed to get into tech or get back into tech after many, many years away. I keep doing the math over and over again. I was like, is it really close to 20? And I'm like, yeah, it is.
Yeah, we're already over maybe 1 month in 2026. Time flies by.
It really, really does. And faster the older I get, it seems. So I hear a lot, and we kind of brushed on this a little bit, but I do want to just add it as a true punctuation point. People who are afraid to do something. What would be that one thing that you tell them? I'm talking about whether it's networking, posting on LinkedIn, doing a resume, whatever that looks like. Sometimes people are just, they can know what they're supposed to do and sit there paralyzed by fear of doing the thing. What nugget would you give that person?
Don't do it alone. There is so much help. If it's, job seeking is not fun anyway, let's just go with that program. It is not a fun process. So if you're at WorkSource, you know what? There's resources there. If you want to go to your library, there's resources there. There is your neighbor. You know what? Shoot me a message. I will find the time, and I know you find the time. You know what? Just don't do it alone. And I'm going to just say, especially a job seeking process, because you're going to have some high highs and some low lows. And some of those days, you're going to need that extra person, and maybe it's a coach. And, I'm going to stay in this little veteran space a little bit, but, you've got America's corporate partner called ACP. What a great resource for a mentor. Then there's Mill Mentor. And then there's Heroes Linked, and 4Block has mentors if you take the program. Find somebody beyond your spouse or your loved one, or someone that you might have to go spend the evening with, to have a coach. And I truly have had a coach for 40 years. And my coach finally one day said, I think you've been around long enough and I'm too old. We're done with this program. But you know what? I'm a big believer in finding a coach or asking for help. And I know sometimes our egos are not always in check with doing that. But I'll tell you what, and I've had a couple of the coaches that I paid for, professional coaches, during different times in my career. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself. They got me out there in a little bit of different way and made me think differently. Because when you start getting a couple few rejection letters, you don't feel really good about yourself. And you're like going this downward spiral. So you need someone to help pick you up. And that's where I think a coach or, just another person who you can say, hey, I need some love today. And you will get through this. Just because you want a certain job on a certain day at a certain company, that doesn't mean that job is going to be open.
Right.
So sometimes most of the time life is about timing. And everything I thought in my life was going to happen a certain time, and none of that's ever happened. So I gave that program up. So I would definitely don't do it alone. There's people to help. There's great mentors. There's great groups, great support systems.
One of my favorite questions to ask, and you're the first one that gave that advice, so I love it particularly. And it reminds me so much of when I went to networking events with another person. I kind of was like, come on, let's go talk to this person over here. And we could both be nervous, but that nervousness is shared. And then we've even experienced just where you were asking about, hey, when am I doing this podcast? And I'm like, I'm having a crisis in life right now. And a few days, you're like, take your time. And then I'm like, I'm wallowing right here. And Monica's waiting to help. And it really was. I sent you the messages. I can't sit here and wallow. Let's just schedule this thing. And sometimes I had somebody that I met with just to chat yesterday, and she gave me all these brainstorming ideas to where it just brought an energy level up. Great advice. Great advice. You like wherever you are in that space, another person can lighten discouragement. They can lighten ideas. They can, bring ideas. Brilliant.
I'm sure I read it somewhere. I take credit for nothing. I just take all the stuff over my life and go, okay, I'm going to throw it up there. And you know what? I've learned the universe works.
Yeah. I'm looking for whoever told me, I may not be someone's cup of tea, but it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's kombucha. And I'm like, still, who said that? Because it didn't come from me, but I love it. So
it's a good one.
I'm the same way, right? It's like I pick up these phrases and things because so many people have spoken into my life. Is there anything you wish I would have asked you that I did not? Like a special button that you're like,
No, I think my big buttons right now are really being curious and being open. We're in a really interesting time in the world. And there are many of us, including myself, sometimes I would rather just stay in my covers and cover my head. But you know what? I'm more of let's get out there and the little I can make a difference, whatever that is. I believe in my signature line on my email says making a difference. And I raise my kids with that little one-liner thing. And I just think there's things that we all can be doing. I didn't necessarily want to go in the middle of the football game last night over to my neighbor and have a glass of wine and teach her AI. But you know what? I know the game was going to be on and I have no skin in the game. So I'm good. Seahawks, another story.
It's totally another story.
But, a college, game. But sometimes you have to say, I'm willing to help. And then at the same time, and I wrote this on LinkedIn maybe a week ago, but remember, you also need help. And, we've all had crap in our lives. We have stuff. And you kind of have to stop and go, you know what? I really need some help. Sometimes it's maybe more professional that I need than just, a friendly conversation. But you know what you said, it will lift you up. There'll be a little nugget that's going to come out of every conversation. You're going to maybe be inspired to just do one extra thing. And, maybe if it's a resume option, well, you know what? Here's 5 groups that do free resumes, people. You don't have to do it alone. Work with these resume companies. Then you got AI, and then you got all these nonprofits. And you know what? You're overwhelmed. So I guess my thing is individually be curious. And like I said, I'm a big one on making a difference. And I strive every day to make a difference.
I love that. And we often give in the mentorship call that I do the advice on if you're really discouraged in the job search, the best thing you can do is go volunteer for anything else. Just go pick up trash. Go, ask your local food bank, what can I do for a day? And just see, I promise you'll come back probably appreciative for where you are and feeling a lot more energized because we got out of our own head, which can tell a whole bunch of lies all the time.
I thought my head is the only one who does that. Your head does it too?
Surprise, surprise, I'm human. But yes, and those rejection letters can land so hard sometimes that, and if you're applying for a lot of jobs and you're getting a lot of rejection, it can be like, no one wants me. No one wants me. This is never going to change. I need to switch industries because mine doesn't want me anymore. Like, just name it. There's a thought train and it's easy to get on it.
You're exactly right.
All right. I think we're kind of running out of our questions that we had. So are you open, I assume, for people to reach out to you on LinkedIn? Is that the best place to find you?
LinkedIn would be best. It's just under Monica M. McNeal. And I think my picture has my glasses on. So yeah, connect with me. Don't just follow me, connect with me. Let's start that dialogue and that relationship. And because if I can't help you, trust me, I will find someone else who can. So that's a great place. Yeah, and shoot.
I was about to add, Monica knows everybody. Like, but it is kind of that way. I mentioned one thing and you're like, okay, you need to talk to this person, this person, this person. And it was just this, not just organizations, but names. And that alone is golden. So she is a wonderful connector if she can.
Thank you. And you got to think I've been around a while and I'm going to be hitting 65 really soon. So, over those years, and I did some great reflection on vacation and I've always liked to network and I do it for everyone else. And then the sidebar is I built a network, but I was always looking for somebody else. And even the other day, a gentleman in my four block class will be starting in February. He really challenged me to find a certain type of mentor. And you know what? I just sat there and I went, bingo, I know the person. And all of a sudden it's like, it wasn't for me, but it's doing something for somebody else. So, well, thank you. I'm not quite, 1 degree of separation, but we like to pretend we all are. We are. That's what LinkedIn's for. Use it.
Well, every time I talk to you, it feels like you are. So thank you for how willing you are to help other people. And I guess we can wrap up now, but I also thank you for being here. Thank you for getting me out of my vodcast funk that I was in a little bit and when life threw me curveballs. And so I appreciate you and I appreciate all that you're doing. And you are making that wonderful difference to people. So I guess both of us keep on keeping on, right? And then if you're watching this, keep on keeping on. Especially job seekers, you're looking for one yes. You're looking for one yes, right? Just one. So never know when it's going to be right around the corner. All right. With that, I'll close this out and yeah, thank you.
Thank you.